Imagine walking into a room lit by only a single candle. Your eyes struggle at first. Slowly, they begin to adjust. You can make out the furniture, the walls, the people around you. Your vision hasn't become sharper. Your eyes have simply become more sensitive to the available light. Your camera can do something very similar. That setting is called ISO, and although it's one of the 3 pillars of exposure, it's also one of the most misunderstood. Today, we're going to learn what ISO really does, why photographers try to keep it as low as possible, and when raising it is actually the right decision. Let's go back to our bucket analogy from Lesson 1. Exposure is like filling a bucket with rain. Aperture controls how big the opening is. Shutter speed controls how long the bucket stays outside. ISO is different. Imagine the bucket is already full of rain. Instead of collecting more water, you're simply making it easier to see what's already inside. ISO doesn't create more light. It makes your camera more sensitive to the light that has already been captured. That distinction is incredibly important. Years ago, photographers used rolls of film. Every roll had a fixed sensitivity to light. A roll of ISO 100 film was less sensitive but produced cleaner, finer detail. A roll of ISO 800 film was much more sensitive, allowing photographers to work in darker conditions, but it also produced more visible grain. Digital cameras inherited the same idea. Today, instead of changing film, we simply change a setting. But the trade-off remains the same. Higher ISO makes it easier to photograph in low light. Lower ISO generally produces cleaner, smoother images. Imagine photographing a landscape on a bright summer afternoon. The sun provides plenty of light. There's no reason to ask your camera to become more sensitive. ISO 100 is usually the perfect choice. Now imagine photographing a concert. The lights are dim, the musicians are moving quickly. You don't want to use a slow shutter speed because everything will blur. You may already be using a wide aperture. Now ISO becomes your solution. By increasing ISO, you allow your camera to work with the limited light available. The image becomes brighter, but there's a price. That price is called noise. Noise appears as tiny random specks across your image. Instead of smooth tones, especially in dark areas, you begin to see roughness and texture. Modern cameras are much better than they used to be. An image taken at ISO 1600 today often looks cleaner than an image taken at ISO 415 years ago. But the principle hasn't changed. Whenever possible, photographers prefer more light instead of more ISO. If you can move closer to a window, turn on another light, use a flash, or place your subject outside, you'll usually create a better photograph than simply raising ISO. Light is always better than sensitivity. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is leaving their camera on auto ISO without understanding what it's doing. The camera may quietly increase ISO to keep the image bright. You get the photo, but later you wonder why it doesn't look as clean or detailed as you expected. Understanding ISO means taking back creative control. Sometimes you'll happily accept a little noise because capturing the moment matters more than technical perfection. A slightly noisy photograph of your child's winning goal is infinitely more valuable than a perfectly clean image that you never captured. Photography has always been about telling stories, not chasing perfect settings. Here's a practical exercise. Choose one object in your home. Place it somewhere with moderate lighting. Keep your aperture and shutter speed exactly the same. Now photograph it at ISO 100, ISO 400, ISO 800, ISO 1600, and if your camera allows it, ISO 3200. Zoom into each image on your computer. Look closely at the shadows. Notice how the fine detail begins to change. Don't just read about ISO, see it for yourself. I believe experience is the fastest teacher. Here's one final thought. Many beginners ask, what is the best ISO? The answer is simple. The lowest ISO that still allows you to create the photograph you want, sometimes that's ISO 100, sometimes it's ISO 6400, sometimes it's even higher. The best photographers don't chase numbers, they chase moments, and they understand which compromises are worth making. Let's quickly bring everything together. Exposure is the amount of light reaching your camera. Aperture controls the size of the opening. Shutter speed controls how long light enters. ISO controls how sensitive your camera is to that light. 3 controls, 1 photograph, 1 creative decision. In our next lesson, we'll explore shutter speed, one of the most exciting settings on your camera, where you'll learn how to freeze a Formula One car, create silky waterfalls, and capture motion in ways that completely transform a photograph. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson of Lucet Academy. Remember to subscribe to our channel.